Welcome to Creatively Optimized, the podcast for service businesses ready to shine online. I'm Jenny Belanger, the founder of Jenny B Designs, a web design studio that builds strategic and beautiful websites that are designed to book you ideal clients and make you money. With over 10 years of growing my own design business, I'm here to share tips to creatively optimize your business. Get ready to learn web design strategies for high converting websites, digital marketing tactics to reach ideal customers, and systems to simplify operations. If you're ready to blend creativity and strategy, you're in the right place. Join me on this journey to creatively optimize your unique business. Let's do this. Hello, and welcome to the podcast. Today, I have a guest interview with Kristi Mitchell. Kristi is a marketing strategist, and she believes the number one reason business owners don't see marketing results is because they are lacking a strategy. Kristi's found that too many coaches, consultants, and small business owners limit their growth and impact because marketing is too complicated. She believes that marketing should never be the thing that holds you back from being successful in your business. And she jokes it's her personal mission to make you love marketing. Really, though, her goal is to help you get excited about it because it feels good and gets you the results that you want. I really adore Kristi's philosophy because she takes that bird's eye approach and she helps you just simplify your marketing. We chat about Kristi's marketing funnel framework and how each part of the funnel relates back to your website and some ways that you can make your marketing work better for you all around in terms of your website. So here we go. Hi, Kristi, and welcome to the Creatively Optimized podcast.
Hi, Jenny. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Awesome. So I know I've read your bio, but I'd love to learn a little bit more about kind of like how you got started and where you are now. And then we'll chat about today's topic.
In my past life, I spent time working in higher ed and in the financial services world in the realm of marketing. And so I did that for about 10 years before leaving to start my own business full time. When I started my business, I'm what we refer to in the marketing world as a generalist. So I had done a little bit of everything. I wasn't really sure where I fit in the grand scheme of the marketing world. And so when I started my business, I was like, okay, I can do whatever you need. So I reached out to a lot of small business owners and really just did their strategy as well as their execution. So I was creating social media posts, writing emails, doing website things, creating that plan and executing it. And I got 1 year under my belt before the pandemic hit. I lost most of my clients. And it really gave me the opportunity to look at the work that I was doing and realizing I don't love the execution. Even though I can do it, I don't love doing it. And so I really shifted my business to focus more on the strategic planning side because I had met so many small business owners who were really passionate about the work that they do and the clients that they serve, but marketing was getting in the way. It was overwhelming and frustrating and difficult to navigate. And so I love bringing a level of simplicity and clarity and authenticity and really helping business owners create a marketing plan that they can be excited about and that's going to get them the results that they need.
What I love most about you and your philosophy is how you have that overarching strategy and you try to simplify everything and just make it, as concise and to get your results. But it helps to have that bird's eye view. So I'm excited to kind of chat. Today we're going to talk about kind of how all marketing paths lead back to your website. And I know you have a marketing funnel framework that you use with your clients to bring that simplicity and clarity to their marketing. I thought maybe you could kind of take us through that framework and we can go step by step and talk about how each part of that funnel kind of relates back to the website.
Yeah, definitely. So the marketing funnel framework, right? If you think of a funnel where the widest part is on top and then the narrowest part is at the bottom, right? Your inverted triangle there. And we're really just categorizing all of our marketing efforts into 4 main buckets or categories within the framework. So at the very top, at the widest part of the funnel is the attract. And that's how you're getting out in front of people. How are new people learning about you and what you have to offer? From there, it goes to the convert section. And that's where you're getting someone to take that next step. So you're converting someone to become a lead. You're getting them to fill out a form for you so that then you can take them to the next section of the funnel, which is usually the longest, especially in the service-based space. And that's nurture. So the third area of the funnel is nurture, and that's staying in touch with people over time. Because chances are the first time they hear about you, they might not need what you offer. They might not be ready to work with you. So we need systems in place to stay in touch with them. And then at the bottom of the funnel, the last stage is close. So, closing the deal, making the sale when the timing is right. And I always say I'm not a sales coach, but I just like to talk about what you can be doing in your marketing all along the way that makes closing the deal a little bit easier. So with that being said, as far as the marketing funnel framework goes as it relates to a website, we'll start at the draft at the top.
Yeah, let's start at a draft.
So in my mind, the website is the thing that you want to drive all your traffic to. So I work with my clients a lot on social media strategies and, outreach and those sorts of things at the attract phase, right? Like how can you get out in front of people? But you really want to drive people to the website because that's where they can really dig in, learn more about you, your personality, what it is that you offer. And so in my mind, at the attract phase, as it relates to the website, all of those things that you're doing, you want to drive people to your website. But in your website itself, if you're optimizing for keywords, right? SEO, search engine optimization, if you're doing strategic keywords and optimizing your website, then people can find you, right? If they're going to Google to search for something and then you arrived, as a top result for them based on what they're searching, that can obviously help you because it's very qualified traffic coming to your website. They're specifically searching out what it is that you're offering. So as far as the top area of the funnel, that's what I would say as far as what role your website can play for you in helping you get out in front of people and what kind of all those other attract things that I work with my clients on are meant to do is meant to drive people to that website.
I love how you said all of these marketing actions that you're taking. The goal of it is actually to drive people back to your website. Like the website is the center hub. And it's really important, like you said, to ensure that your website is optimized for search engines so that you are including those keywords so that you can kind of get the biggest bang for your buck. Just adding that little piece can really change the amount of traffic and the quality of traffic that you do drive back to your website.
Yeah, it really can. And I know I've heard from a lot of business owners, I feel like, where they'll say, I'm just never going to get search traffic like SEO, especially, for certain areas, for certain types of businesses, it is really difficult to be found in search. It can be super competitive, be really challenging to do anything from an organic standpoint to get organic traffic. But even if that's the case, I always tell them your website is still really important. Even if it's not the first touch point that someone's going to have with you, it should be the second, which we'll get into with our next area of the funnel.
Okay, so that's the attract phase. So then let's talk about the convert phase.
The way that I talk to my clients about convert, and again, at this stage, we're talking about converting a lead, getting someone to take that next action, right? When we talk about marketing, we hear a lot of like building the know, like, and trust factors, right? So for me, that building the like factor means, okay, they like me enough to give me their name and email address, right? Especially these days, people get sick of getting too many emails. And so they can tend to get picky about where they're going to give their name and email address out. So the convert stage is getting someone to fill out a form in exchange for something of value. So it might be, you might be hosting a masterclass or a webinar, or some sort of online event where people have to register. That's a way to capture people's information. If you have a freebie, a lead magnet, whatever you want to call it, some sort of downloadable resource, could be a quiz, could be a template, right? These things can take on a variety of forms, but having that live on your website, one of the things I always tell clients is you need to have each of those lead magnets on its own separate landing page on your site so that you can drive traffic to that specific page on your site. I always like kind of clam up and get like super passionate when I see someone who like has a lead magnet on their site and the only way to get to it is through like a pop-up. Like it's just like a pop-up form and there's no actual page for it to live on. So I feel very strongly that each of those things should live on their own page so that then you can share that on social media. You can share it if you're giving a talk or a presentation, right? Have a QR code so people can take that next step and go download a resource from you afterwards. You could even have QR code on your business card, right? If you have an evergreen piece of content that you have as a lead magnet, great thing to be offering to people freely and widely. So I think the website is so critical at the convert stage because it's really all about getting people to take that next step to give you their name and email address so that then you can stay in touch with them.
So important. I call it the irresistible freebie. And when I start a web project, we have to understand the overall goal of your website. And for a lot of service providers, it is to book a consultation call or if someone has a course, to buy the course. But if it's a high ticket item that you're selling, like for myself, for example, a lot of people aren't ready to take the next step. So you need a way to capture their name and their email. And this freebie is such an important part of the process. It's how you do build that know, like, and trust factor and how your
Yep.
website can make money for you. So having that on your website on its singular landing page so that you can share it far and wide is kind of like a must do for your website to actually kind of build your email list and make sales.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I talk about it in terms of like bringing people into your world. That's how I see like a lead magnet, right? Is because I was just having this conversation with someone else. They're like, well, some people say, you could you could stay in touch with people on social media. Why do you really need an email list? And I don't agree with that philosophy because you don't own your social media account. We have all seen and heard situations where people get locked out, they get hacked, whatever it is, so you don't own that. You don't own your presence there. And so getting people off of social media onto your email list is really I think, the only true way that you have control over that and that you can really make sure that you can stay in touch with them.
Yeah. And we don't see everyone's posts. Like, the algorithm, like you
Yes.
don't see most
Oh,
things
yeah.
anyways. So it
Right.
is
Right.
important to own that list. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So then nurture, is that your third stage?
Yeah. So the third stage is nurture. This is where we're staying in touch with people. Now, typically when I talk about nurture, I do talk about social media and email marketing. Those are really the main ways that I work with my clients on staying in touch with their existing contacts. So I do, just as a side note, I do say that social media falls in the attract and the nurture stage because it helps you get in front of people and it helps you stay in touch with people if you are creating content and engaging on a consistent basis. So in terms of the website, really, I think it at the nurture stage, to me, it just goes back to the importance that we just talked about with getting people on the email list. I think the website is plays such a huge critical role in that way of getting people on your email list so that then you can nurture them through consistent, regular emails that are helpful, relevant, where you're solving problems for your audience, you're giving away information for free, you're showing you're a thought leader in your space, you're really building the trust factor at that point.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. And perhaps maybe even your blog could be considered part of that nurture as well, because
Yeah.
you're publishing content that's helpful to the consumer.
Definitely. That's a great point. A lot of my clients, might be averse to blogging. A lot of people end up with a negative relationship with that. But once I show them if you start with a blog and then, you use that to feature in your email campaign, and then break it up into a bunch of social media posts, it's like, it makes your life so much easier. I always say work smarter, not harder. So yeah, definitely. A blog could be a great way to do that if you have a podcast where you're publishing those episodes on a consistent basis and driving people back to your website again. That can all be really helpful.
Yeah, and I hear you because when you say blog, sometimes people tend to get overwhelmed. Oh, I have to write this long article and it's got to be optimized for search engines and so forth. But like you said, if you start with like the long form piece of content, you can break it up and use it for so many platforms. So it's really such a great way to kind of repurpose and shorten the work that you have to do.
Yeah, definitely.
And then finally, let's talk about closing.
Yes. Yeah, closing the deal. So, like I said, I'm not a sales coach, but when we think in terms of marketing and what we can do to make it easier for people to say yes when we get to that point, I like to really work with my clients on things like testimonials and case studies. And so, those are awesome things to have on your website. Scattered throughout. I hate it when I see like a standalone testimonials page. I'm like, I think 10 times out of 10, when I've looked at the data for clients, people are not going to a testimonials page. But sprinkling the testimonials throughout, right? Like having the relevant ones at each of your services pages, having maybe some on your about page, on your home page, where they make sense, really helps build that trust factor. It helps people see what other results that others gain from working with you and helps them kind of envision what that success could look like for them. So I think testimonials and case studies can be a really great way to utilize your website in a way that's going to help get people across that finish line to say, yes, absolutely, I'm going to work with you.
Mm. I'm so all about what you just said about testimonials and not having their own page because sometimes I see that people have their own testimonials page. And besides that, on the top now, they have testimonials as one of their options. And I like to keep that as clean, as succinct as possible. It's so important to make sure you have testimonials on every page throughout your website. And I love video testimonials or testimonial with
Mm,
a photo that adds like that extra kind of personal touch and flair to it. So that's a great way to close the deal on your website, adding case studies and testimonials.
yeah, definitely.
So that is your funnel. What I'm hearing from you is kind of your website is in the center of all that, and it's a critical
Mhm.
piece of the puzzle. Tell me a little bit about maybe some mistakes that you see when businesses actually don't prioritize their website as it pertains to kind of all their marketing effort.
Yes. I think going back to a point that we kind of touched on earlier, I think I've heard a lot of business owners say, well, people don't find me on my website. Like people don't find my website. They really go to it when they're getting ready to work with me. So they're like further down that funnel. And I think that's okay if you don't want to prioritize SEO because you feel like it's going to be too difficult or you don't have the budget to invest to outsource. It can be an expensive thing to do. I think you still can't just neglect your website. I think you have to make sure that it's up to date, that it has your current offers on it. It drives me nuts when I like connect with somebody new and I'm like, oh, I'm looking at your services on your website. They're like, oh, yeah, that's actually not up to date. Let me email you my package information. I'm like, why is it not up to date? Like, why haven't you been updating your website? So I think that that's a common mistake if people just think like, well, not that many people go to it and people aren't going to find me there. So it falls down the list, right? As marketing, I think in general, I always say like put on the back burner because people usually dislike doing it, especially when you're DIYing. It goes to the back burner, and I think website is even further back.
A lot of times I'll meet someone and they'll tell me their website, but they'll say, don't go to that, go to my social media because that's where like I have all the current information about me. And it's kind of like backwards to me because the goal of social media is to drive people to your website and you need to make
Yes,
sure that that has your most updated information on there.
yes,
Yeah.
we are definitely very aligned on that.
Yeah. Maybe you could share how not having an updated website has perhaps hindered one of your clients' success in some way.
Yeah, so I worked with a client a couple years ago now, and he came to me and he was like, he was an author and a speaker and a whole bunch of things. And he was like, I need to sell more copies of my book. And I looked at it. He's like, I want to do like Facebook ads, to drive more people to my website to buy my book. And I took a look at his website and I was like, oh, this is not good. Like this is not, it was just very outdated. It looked super old. It wasn't user friendly at all. It definitely wasn't a place that I would want to send more traffic to. And so we actually did some content strategy work together. And then at the beginning, I had told him, like, I think you need a new web. Like, I think, I know this isn't what you hired me for, but like, I think that, it would really benefit you to have a new website. And, so I kind of broached it lightly and then he had DIY'd it too. Right. So a lot of people get really, emotionally invested in things that they've poured their time and energy and soul into building themselves. So we did our content strategy work. And then at the end, he really could see how his current website wasn't conducive to what he wanted to do and how he wanted to grow his business. And so I was able to refer him to somebody to help rebuild the website. And actually, it's funny because I just reconnected with him this week and I saw his website. I'm like, oh, it looks so great. It looks so much better. So I think that yeah, it's not the first time I've had a conversation like that. Other ones, I don't end up working with them because they're so solely focused on like wanting to run ads to drive traffic, which is not what I do. But I feel like that is a common thing where people are like, I just need to drive traffic to my website and then people are going to buy from me. And if your website is old and outdated and just not following good best practices for usability and visual appeal and calls to action to bring people, down that funnel that we were talking about, it doesn't make any sense to waste your money to send more traffic there.
I just had this conversation with Taylor on a couple episodes ago about she's a social media strategist, and she says she has so many people who come to her for Facebook ads and Google ads, and they want to throw money at these ads, and it's a wasted investment if you're driving traffic to a website that's actually not going to do its job and convert those visitors. It's important to make sure wherever you're driving your traffic to, that it is optimized, best practices, user experience, and that you're driving them towards the action that you want them to take when they land on the website.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
I guess my last question is, as a marketing expert, any kind of final advice you want to give that's kind of using your website as that nerve center for all your promotion?
I would say incremental changes can go a long way because websites can feel, I think, really big and overwhelming and, again, expensive if you're completely outsourcing it. That cost can certainly be a factor, I think, and contribute to why people don't prioritize it and they just keep pushing it off. But I think if you can at least make incremental changes over time to update things, right? To update your pricing, to update your packages, to maybe take a look at your homepage. Oh, I haven't changed that in a year or two. Like, oh, maybe I could put some new photos, new headshots of me on there to kind of freshen it up a little bit. I think it can be, like I said, it can be easy to just keep pushing it off forever and ever and ever. And if you can kind of make a list, this is what I've done. I have like a list of like broken down like little mini website projects, and then just chip away at them over time. It makes it's good for your website. It's good for SEO if you're changing things, not just all at once, but you're kind of doing them a lot over time. It can help with SEO and it just helps it not feel so overwhelming and impossible to get done.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Your website isn't one and done. It's like a living thing that you constantly have to be updating because things
Yeah.
change. Your business changes, your clients who you serve change. And so it's important to just kind of always be thinking about it and always be updating it. I like to say maybe once a quarter, just like check it out, read it, and make sure it makes sense and update the pictures, like you said, and pick away with it. I love the idea of a list and breaking it out into small pieces so that you're not, doesn't get overwhelming, but just constantly thinking about it and updating it.
Yeah.
Good. Awesome. So, Quincy, tell us a little bit more about how someone can learn more about you and how they could work together if they're interested in learning more.
Yes. So I will say that you can learn a lot about me both on LinkedIn and through my website. So if you want to kind of get a sense for how I approach my own LinkedIn content, check in with me there. And then if you want to get a sense of how I work with clients, all of my pricing and packages and offerings and all of that are included on my website. I also have a bunch of free resources because I practice what I preach. So if you go to kristimitchell.com and check out the resources tab, there is a free marketing quiz you can take. There is a masterclass you can watch the replay of. There's a free resource library. So many things in there. So feel free to go check those out.
Awesome. I will link those in the podcast so people can just click and see.
Awesome. Very cool.
Thank you, Kristi, so much. I appreciate you sharing all your wisdom with us.
Of course. Thanks, Jenny.
Thanks so much for listening to this podcast all the way to the end. I really appreciate you being here. Please make sure to subscribe to the podcast, rate, review, and share it with someone else you know it can help. If you like this episode, then I want to invite you to visit jennybdesigns.com, where you'll find videos and resources to help make your current website work even harder for you. And if you're feeling like your current website doesn't truly reflect you or your brand today, it's not attracting your ideal clients or making sales, or maybe you just feel embarrassed by it and it's holding your business back, then reach out. I'd love to help you design a website that truly reflects you, works for you 24/7, bringing in those ideal clients and making you money. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time for another new episode.